Good afternoon, everyone. I think we're going to wait a few more minutes to get a few more people in, and then we can start. So, Rex, I need your cue as to when I'm ready to start.
So are we offline now?
No. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Perenami Momodu. I'm a partner at ALEX, and I'm also a council member of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law. On behalf of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law, SBL, I welcome you all to this week's Business Law Weekly. This edition is a special edition, as we have with us Mr. Olumide Akpata, who is immediate past chair of the Nigerian Bar Association. Welcome, Mr. Akpata. It's very good to have you with us today.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Immediate past president.
Immediate past president, forgive me. Mr. Akpata needs no introduction. but I will proceed to go by his profile very briefly. He was a founding partner at Templars and the head of the Corporate Commercial Practice Group. He participated in some of the major groundbreaking transactions that have shaped the commercial law practice in Nigeria. He was chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association section on business law from 2016 to 2018. In 2020, he was elected as the president of the Nigerian Bar Association after acquiring a total of 9,891 votes of the total 18,256 ballots cast. In a significant development, in August 2023, Mr. Akpata formally entered the political arena, solidifying his commitment to public service by joining the ranks of the Labour Party. On 24th August 2023, it was announced that Mr. Akpata had formally disengaged from Templars, effective from 31st August 2023, to pursue his political ambitions and to fully focus on his projects for contributing towards nation building. Once again, thank you so much for joining us on this special edition, Mr. Akpata.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Yes. Before we delve right into it, I will mention that it's supposed to be an interactive session. If you do have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, and we'll take them either as we go along or at the end when we have time for some Q&A. So, Mr. Akpata, over to you. So tell us, who is Olumide Akpata? I mean, like I said before, you don't need any introduction. Most of us already know you, but we'd like to hear from you, from your perspective, not from what we read about, not from what we hear about, but from you. Who is Olumide Akpata?
Okay. How does one begin to describe oneself? But I think, firstly, I'm a lawyer. And I say that not because it is not obvious, but because that is all I've done for the last 30 years, being a lawyer. So difficult to describe me without referring to the fact that I'm a lawyer. And I feel fortunate and privileged to be so called, or to be one, because I think law is a privilege, being a lawyer. It gives you a ringside seat to every conversation, to every aspect of human endeavor. You have a right to be there just by the fact that you're a lawyer. So for me, that has always been, that's a privilege. So I'm a lawyer, but I'm also how do I put it? I'm a very simple person. When I say simple, it's not that deep. I don't know if you know what I mean. It's that expression. It's not. That's my attitude to life. It's I'm not going to I can't come and go and kill myself. That is the way I approach, or that is my approach to life. I give it my best shot. But you win some, you lose some. Yeah. They're not the kill person puts, if you know what I mean. So that's me. I'm easygoing. I like to have fun. I like to enjoy myself. I like to live life to the fullest. I'm very grateful to be alive. I know it's a privilege. I know it's a blessing. It's not a right. So I like to take every day as it comes. So I'm your regular guy. I'm just a happy guy. I like to give my best to anything I'm doing. I like to improve any space I occupy or I go into. I like to leave the room leaving an impression that, okay, this guy made a difference. You know what I mean? So I don't like just, some people like to be anonymous. No, I like to stand out, to know that I came here, I made a difference, and for good. So that's me generally. I like knowledge. For me, smart people I turn on. You know what I mean? When I see smart people, talk to smart people, it's always such a delight. I like knowledge. I like but I'm simple worry boy. That's all.
When you said you're a regular guy, I'm sure many people were like, Mr. Akpata is a regular guy, then what will I call myself?
Honest, regular guy. I am. You know what? You know that expression there, but for the grace of God goeth I.
Yes.
And that works. That I think that fits. It's a perfect description for me. There, but for the grace of God goeth I. That's me.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. But you're also a goal-getter. And I say this because the next question I'm going to ask you came from the young lawyers, and they were wondering, you started or joined in the formation of Templars when you were only 23, and the question really is, and Templars has now grown to be, one of the most successful firms in West Africa. So the question is, did you see that coming? What was your driving force? What was your motivation? Did you think that Templars would be what it has become now? And doing that at such a young age, I guess, again, they ask because some of them have just come out from law school and are wondering, should I join a law firm? Should I start up my own firm? Should I go in-house? What should I do with my career? And they look up to you as a mentor, as we all do, and I'm thinking, should I follow the path that Mr. Akpata followed? Where's that going to lead me? So tell us your story, your Templar story. Let me put it that way.
I think Templars, that's probably one of the best things I've done in my life. I finished law school in 93. I was 21. And then I went to work with Dr. Mudiagaoje, senior advocate of Nigerian Warri, who trained me as a lawyer. I trained as a litigator. And then my cousin, Ogogo, who is founding partner, managing partner at Templars, had just left. 95, he left the law firm of Akinrele. He was also trained by another great in the profession, the late Chief Frank Akinrele, senior advocate of Nigeria. And so, but he went out and set up Templars. So to set straight, Ogogo started Templars, my cousin. Well, and I are first cousins, our fathers were brothers. But immediately after, while Templars was still he was still putting things together, I joined him. I left Warri. I left the law firm of Dr. OJ. So you're not wrong to say I joined in the formation, but the actual setting up had been done by my cousin in terms of incorporating and all of that. But maybe 9 months later or 10 months later, I joined him. And
so it was still a startup.
It was, pretty much. We were 3-4 lawyers, probably two admin staff. So it was a small firm. Did I think Templars would become what it is today? No. I told you I take each day as it comes. Incrementally, you just build, right? But what I knew was that my cousin and I, we're from the same family as our fathers and brothers. There's a certain trust ethos. There's a way we were brought up, give your best, do your best, and we tried to ensure that became part of the DNA of Templars. Just, whatever you find to do well. And so we looked at it. We had decided, okay, we're going to try as much as possible to foray into commercial legal practice. What do? We put on our thinking caps. We worked really hard. And we denied ourselves a lot of the pleasures in terms of, in those days, you make money and you want to go and quickly buy a car. You make money, you want to build a house quickly. But we were single-minded in our determination to invest in that law firm. I look at Templars like my child. Because yes, I was 20, I was actually 20, or going on 24 when I joined my cousin. So it's all I've done all my working life. So we were focused, and we were resolute, and determined that we would succeed. Did we think we would succeed
to this extent?
I can't tell you that. I won't say that. But we kind of knew that if we put in our best, we would get the results. We had no problem with delayed gratification. You understand what I mean? We had no problem with waiting to see to get to harvest time. We had no problem with planting, the planting season. Tough, difficult. We were, but over time, we began to see that this thing really would work if we continued to put our best into it. So for the young lawyers coming to the profession now, circumstances are different, right? I'm not going to very quickly tell the young lawyer, hey, go set up on your own stuff, right? But if you do, be ready to put in the time, put in the effort. It will take time for the results to show. And if you are into instant gratification, don't bother, because it takes time, you know. And particularly as the law firm grew, it's a partnership. More partners were admitted into the practice or into the partnership, and so there's so much to invest into and you have to give up on a few things and wait, you know. So, but as you can imagine, I'm one of the happiest persons around, just to look back and say, wow, you know, never despise.
Exactly.
It's something. Credit to my cousin, because he kind of like saw the end game. He always was fired up to say, this is where we're going. You know what I mean? And I believed, and I just said, okay, so we're going to go for it. And to us, there was really no territory we couldn't stake a claim for. You know what I mean? We were not afraid and say, oh, this is too big for us. No. We went after, if we wanted to, we went for it. We went after it. And some now labeled us aggressive. And we said, well, forgive us, but for good cause. We believe that we're on a journey, we are going somewhere, and we're going to do all that we can to get there within the bounds of what's it called, of what is legal, what is right, what is decent. We just stayed within those bounds, but we push hard. We push really hard.
Okay. And I know that, you know, you sort of explained that there were no boundaries for you guys when you started. There were no limits, you know. You just wanted to push as far as you could, of course, with delayed gratification and all that. But the question I then have is, was there a model that you had in mind that you wanted to aspire to be as a firm at the time? Was there something that you were looking up to, for instance? Or was it just, you know what, let's just keep pushing, and as far as we go, we see where this takes us?
We definitely saw a lacuna. We saw a gap in commercial practice. We saw that there was a lot of space for new entrants, unlike in litigation, where we saw saturation, right? But we saw examples in Lagos of those who had started to chart that. But we also saw examples in the city, in London and in New York, and we saw what commercial law firms could actually be, what they could become, you know. And we definitely knew that there was space here if we would just work hard, you know, acquire the necessary skills. They say the lawyer is not a lawyer you can't do anything. But knowing where to find the law is
makes
what
you a good lawyer,
right? So we just, okay, there's space here. Let us go and try and stake a claim for this territory, commercial law practice in Nigeria. So I tell you what, I was meant to be the litigator in the practice, funny enough.
Interesting.
So because I had worked with Dr. OJ, I had been going to court for 3 years. And so, but when I came to Templars, it became obvious very quickly that we had to decide, how were we going to approach this, you know? So we had to take a decision, painful one, to suspend litigation, that aspect of our practice, for a bit, and focus on this new area that we thought we had a fighting chance of championing or becoming a front a frontline law firm in that area, in those areas. So we had to suspend litigation for a bit. And then we went on and we indeed began to make a name for ourselves in commercial practice. And then we now we established our litigation practice. So it worked well for us. It worked well. Today, I'm proud. I'm so proud that two of my partners are senior advocates. They have over 30 lawyers working in their department. And so for me, it's always, it's always a thing of strategy.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Law firms must understand that you're running a business. Strategy, development, the things you need to plan. You need to decide where you want to go. And this was it. We said, listen, pause on this one. Let's focus on this area of commercial practice, build, gain gravitas, and then come back. And we did. And I'm extremely delighted by the outcome.
Congratulations. It is very impressive.
Thank you.
Now let's move on to SBL. You've also led SBL as the chairperson. How did you get into SBL? How did you find your way into SBL?
You see the smile on my face. Whenever I think of SBL, I'm just so happy. It was Margaret Mead, the American author. The American author, I always quote her. She says, never doubt what a small group of people can achieve when they come together. Something to that effect. So I always quote Margaret Mead and say, SBL is that small group of people, that acorn seed. And kudos to our founding or our pioneer chair, Georgie Tomi, who also happens to be my brother-in-law. Kudos to him because he is a visionary. He's somebody who he also has that Shangri spirit that never say die. Impossible means nothing. And he like me. He had good relationships at the NBA.
Okay.
He had good senior advocate, governor from those states now, very close to Akpata. He had good. Georgie told me is 19.
Spring chicken.
Right? So he had those relationships. And it was clear to all of us at that time as commercial lawyers that the NBA, as it was constituted, really had not paid enough mind to the issues that confront us commercial lawyers. We really were not on the radar. It was clear to us. Maybe it wasn't deliberate. It was just simply, blissful oblivion, if you know what I mean. Just our reality really wasn't there. Our colleagues on the other side of the fence. So, but it was George who engaged the leadership of the NBA to say, hey, listen, this is done in other associations, bar associations. Let us create niche areas, niche sections, so that we, the commercial lawyers, can find expression, and still feel a part of the NBA. Otherwise, very soon, we will feel unwanted and we'll walk away. And kudos also to the leaders at that time who listened to George. And after a lot of how do I put it? Persuasion, effort, over about 3 administrations, SBL was eventually alongside the section of legal practice and the section of public interest and development law, SPDL. But the truth of the matter is that it was the commercial lawyers who championed the creation of sections. And so when SBL was created or was about to be created, those at the helm of affairs of the NBA thought, well, there are other niche areas we should deal with. So that's how 3 sections were born. And for many years, George was our chairman, and we worked with him. And it's just simply delightful what we achieved. All of us competitors, all of us from different law firms, most of us from different law firms, but we put our egos, we put our interests at the door and come and sit together, and we build something that has outlived or is outliving all of us. And and is running on autopilot pretty much.
Yeah.
And what we have now is the new leaders, or the new generation of leaders just come and add on top of it, add their own perspective, their own value. And the SBL is the better for it. Exactly. I am so delighted. From our first conference, I was part of the planning of our first conference up until when I became chair in 2016. It's just, I wish Nigeria would work that way. You know what I mean?
But people put everything aside.
Just put everything aside and know that we have this objective. I wish Nigeria would work that way, because, there's that bond, amongst us in the SBL, Mr. Oyebode, exactly. Mr. Igodalo, Georgie told me, Mrs. Umfonu Soro, Sheni Adio, those of us who have chaired the section. Yes. Ayuli Jemide. Yes. And now my dear brother, Adefulu. We are committed. We know that it's almost a trust that, when we hand over to the next chair, that you have a huge responsibility to carry on from where others left off, and see what has become of the section. And we became, for the NBA, a beacon. Very strange that a subset, began to show to the main association, this is the way to go. And the rest of the association were not, they did not think it strange, or they did not think it out of place to borrow a leaf or two from the SBL. And if you notice, it is the SBL effect, and I say that everywhere, that has transformed the Nigerian Bar Association. I say that without any apologies, and I would like anybody who thinks otherwise to come
and challenge that.
It is the way we run our conferences. I know what MBA conferences used to be like, many years ago. And then when NBA-SBL started to run its own conferences, the mother association said, we should do this. And for me, it was a thing of pride. We are the better off for it. The NBA is our umbrella body. And we rather than work, it's hundreds of years of it's a brand. It's a brand. Rather than walk away from the brand, because there were a couple of times when we had, we had issues, and many of us said, we're going to walk away. We're going to do our own thing. But we thought about it. Why go and reinvent the wheel? This is a brand. It's a huge brand. So we, all the differences were, I think they were put aside. And the SBL came back, and we came back stronger. And I'm so glad we stayed the course. I'm so glad we did.
Yeah. Where would we have had this kind of opportunity if we didn't stay the course? So thank God that you did. So again, on the SBL, one of the core objectives of the SBL is raising the standards of commercial legal practice. One of which you've also mentioned was one of the driving forces to even creating, the SBL. That's what you're also passionate about. The SBL itself has, been instrumental, putting in a lot of work and doing trainings, capacity building, but there is still a gap. And I say this because, we're a very large legal market, but even as large as we are, we still have that, knowledge gap here and there. So can you tell us, what can we do to help each other, or further enhance our knowledge? There's so much that the SBL can do. It's doing what it can, but we still need to do more.
Yeah, it's an existential problem, right? But SBL will continue to do it, play its part. Yes. We have our subject matter committees that continue to thrive. And through those committees, we continue to help with knowledge development. Yes. But like I said, I said the SBL effect is what has helped the NBA up its game, as it were. So I became president in 2020, and immediately the first thing I did was to go find out what was going on with our MBA Institute of Continuing Legal Education. What we sell is knowledge. And once we stop that flow, the pipeline of that flow of knowledge, we atrophy immediately as lawyers. So it's a no-brainer. So, because the truth be told, the NBA, our predecessors, my predecessors in office, particularly Dr. Olumide Akpata, senior advocate of Nigeria, had put the template in place and had established an ICL, the ICLE, the NBA-ICLE. It was there. Professor Ojukwu SAN, they had put in hours. They had done such great work. But the NBA presidency is only for 2 years. You have to pack up and go. So unfortunately, all of those plans were left in the drawer, you know, and they had started, but they hadn't quite taken off. So I asked the question, what happened to, because I'm coming from SBL, we are all about knowledge, you know what I mean, and knowledge sharing, knowledge development. So we picked up from where Dr. Akpata and Professor Ojukwu left off, and we reignited, reestablished the ICLE. Today we have as chair of the ICLE, Tobenna Erojikwe, SBL, but he's chair of the ICLE today. And he has been running that institute for over 2 years now. And through that institute, we have been giving free training in diverse areas of the law, commercial practice, litigation, diverse areas. That's the only way. I mean, bar associations exist to improve the lot of its members. And so through the ICLE, indeed, the IBA, the International Bar Association, had to seek out Tobenna to say, we have heard about what you're doing. The buzz, you know, has reached
the IBA.
And they invited him to the Africa Regional Forum Conference we held in Kigali of the IBA a couple of months ago, just to tell the story of the Institute of Continuing Legal Education. We must not pay lip service to that institute. We must not pay lip service to CPD, Continuing Professional Development.
Exactly.
There must be a mandatory continuing legal education program at the Nigerian Bar Association. Having said that, the Bar Association can only do so much. Which is why SBL for me remains, a trailblazer. When we started our conferences and all that, we became the melting pot, or at least it was a convergence point for business, government, lawyers, and all of that to come. The law underpins the economy, right? And government and the policymakers have to understand that at the level of designing law programs, we must look at the Nigerian economy and train lawyers that will service that economy. We have been shouting this from the rooftops. We must do this. You want to go into solid minerals, you want to diversify the economy, you want to go into agriculture. Who is going to deal with the value chain, the paperwork, the putting together the contracts? You privatize electricity. How many electricity lawyers did you have before you did that? You have signed up to the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. How many trade lawyers do you have in Nigeria? It's a policy issue. As the Bar Association, we do our best. As the law school churns out 6,000 lawyers every year, we'll try and most of whom still believe or listen to the tone from the top of the profession that if you're not donning a wig and a gown, you're not a lawyer. Unfortunately, we still, in our law firms, at the NBA-SBL, at the NBA Institute of Continuing Legal Education, we try to train them and try and point them in directions that would that will help them with specialization. But you're swimming against the tide, pretty much. You're swimming against the tide when government, policymakers, as far as legal education is concerned, even the leaders of the profession don't recognize this as a need, or that there's a problem. So as long as they don't recognize, we continue to pay lip service to the issue. So you find out that big ticket transactions come and you can't find Nigerian lawyers who can handle them. So they go to London, they go to New York, and they bring the lawyers. So we did privatization in 1999, and whenever we did privatization, and foreign lawyers came. We worked with them, we understudied them, some of us. But how many years later, if we do privatization again today, they will still go after foreign lawyers because we don't have the numbers, we don't have the capacity in the kind of numbers that we need. This is the largest economy in Africa, we have been told, right? So it's important that we have a legal profession that is following, that is right at the heels of those who are driving the economy so that we can provide that service. We keep on saying, even the litigation that we speak about has become specialized. Oil and gas litigation is a skill.
Aviation litigation
is a skill. You can't just get up and be a jack of all trades and say, I will go to court and just handle it. There are issues, there are nuances, there are skill sets that you need to acquire if you want to be at the top of the game.
Absolutely.
So SBL is doing its best and is doing quite well. The MBA is also blazing the trail through the Institute of Continuing Education. But I'm the first to admit that it's not enough. It is not enough. We're just scratching the surface because, like you said, it's a huge market. 6,000 lawyers come out of law school every year, and then you have this admittedly still ad hoc approaches by the NBA, and it's not going to work. We have to sit down as a matter of the Attorney General has to lead the charge. The leaders of the profession, the body of benchers, whoever. We need the NBA come together and say, we must look at. When I was president, we held the Legal Education Summit in Ado-Ekiti, and we brought these issues to the fore again. But how do we even teach law? The way we are teaching law, is it in tandem with the realities of today?
Exactly.
What is in our curricula? What are we teaching as law? I keep on saying the curriculum that I confronted or encountered at the University of Benin in 1988. I left Uniben in 92. I still go back to Uniben, and I don't see much of a difference. The law teachers always quarrel with me when I say this, and they argue and they get all defensive. But I'm like, I'm not being judgmental. I'm just simply saying this is our reality. What have we done to change curriculum, to train lawyers who are 21st century ready? You know what I mean? And you see that before this conversation is over that we're having, changes would have occurred. With AI, with technology, with what is our approach to what is our strategy for all of those, for that reality that is already upon us? So I urge and I encourage the NBA, the Mother Association, and Section on Business Law, Section on Legal Practice, Section on Public Interest and Development Law to continue to do all that they can to provide platforms for training for our lawyers. Otherwise, they become very quickly extinct. You know what I mean? Or not. They lose their selling point, as it were, and the clients have become or are very sophisticated. They know when their lawyer knows nothing. You know what I mean? So in the world that we live in today, you can't fool the clients. You know what I mean? They walk away, they vote with their feet very quickly. Yes. They go and look for the individual or that firm that has the knowledge. So jack of all trades, forget that. That one is gone in the dustbin of history. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I mean, there's so many gems that you've dropped in what you just said. But I mean, one of the ones that I love the most is that law is underpinning economic development. Yeah. And I think, the conversation, like you said, is much broader. We need to go back to our tertiary institutions. What curriculum are we teaching?
Universities Commission, Council of Legal Education.
Exactly.
We must sit down. Exactly. But whenever we try to call for these conversations, the blame game, oh no, we're doing well. You can't be a judge of your own performance. We are looking at you. And the first time I really recognized this issue of law underpinning, I was a young lawyer. We got the mandate to help. So the disaggregation of the power sector when the privatization thing was going on. So my law firm, we handled that. What you have all this the successor entities, discos, all the gencos. So I did the incorporation documents for all of these companies before they were sold, right? But that was how I got introduced to electricity law, because even though it was a purely corporate transaction, but in preparing the MEMATs and all of that, the articles of the incorporation and all of that, articles of association and all of that, I had to dig in to understand what the objects of each of these companies. So what's the object of a distributor, a genco, a disco, or whatever? So
you were learning on the go.
I was learning on the go. That's how today there's hardly any power transaction that Templars has not been a part of since that time. It was that experience. That was the starting point for us. So, but What I recognized quickly was this. As soon as the decision had been taken to privatize the power sector, what was a command structure before where the Minister of Power gives instruction to the Managing Director of NEPA? NEPA gives instructions to the guys who are running the power, what do you call them, the power stations around the country. That's how the electricity sector was run in Nigeria. But once the decision was taken to privatize, that command structure had to be replaced by what? Contracts. So Genco to Transco, transmission company to distribution company, and that's the value chain. It's contracts. It's market arrangements. Whatever you call it, it is lawyers who sort that out. It is lawyers who know something about electricity law, not just any lawyer. So for us, we had to learn on the job because nobody taught me that at Uniben or at the law school. We had to learn. So, but why does the lawyer, the young chap coming after me, why does he have to go through that?
Exactly.
Why can't he acquire the skills at graduate or postgraduate level? He should be able to find out more about this sector and make a decision as to where, what part of the what path he would like to take in the profession. But the leaders of the profession, I guess I'm a leader now myself, but we have these conversations and it's like, oh, no. Yeah, everybody's waiting for election petition, and then everybody...
Election petitions will
that
go around all the lawyers.
See, I always tell them, once we bring technology to bear on our elections, and it's inevitable, it's gonna happen. Technology will come, election petitions are done. It's over. That gravy train is over. And technology will come.
People are not going to be happy with what you're saying.
But it's just so I mean, I just say to them, make the most of it now while it lasts. It will soon be over. I mean, it's not rocket science. We are the ones who have turned elections into sorcery or
So again, back to quality of lawyers. Some take the view, of course, that the kind of lawyers that we're churning out, and you've touched on the points, really, it's not really the lawyer's fault, it's the curriculum that we're being taught, that they're not really at the standard that they should be for the kind of market that we are, or for the kind of market that we hope to be. Now, people have looked at other jurisdictions where people study law as a second degree. And some people are of the view that, look, that's the way our lawyers should be. We should have a first degree in engineering or economics, as some of our Nigerian lawyers who are foreign trained to have some of those first degrees. So some have taken the view that, look, let lawyers do a first degree first, and then go and study law. And then we can then start talking about an improvement in the quality of the lawyers that we have. What are your views on that? I know you don't have a first degree before law. Perhaps if it was somebody else, they would have a different view. So what are your views on that?
I totally disagree. It's the same Nigeria where Nigerians, we know the problem with our country. It's not that I studied law as I studied law as a 16-year-old. Right? I was 16 when I got into university. Makes absolutely no difference to me.
Okay.
Right? There might be some merit in the argument or in the conversation, but it is the quality of legal education that's the problem, not the maturity or the lack of it of the individuals who are going to study law. That's not the problem. It is the quality, and like every aspect of our society, like every sector, everything is going to the dogs. Standards are plummeting. So if you like, tell the individual to go and study English first. It's the same system. It will come to law, and we will still come out or emerge as a lawyer that really cannot hold his own in the committee of lawyers around the world. It's a systemic issue.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be solved. All you're just going to do. You're just going to create a pipeline
of old lawyers.
Just people waiting, and then, of course, as everything with Nigeria, you now create black market. You know what I mean? And then people are going to now try and find out how to circumvent.
Or maybe it could be that argument is to discourage people from studying law. So when you've already gone and studied economics, you know, you've done 4 or 5 years or whatever in university, and you come out and you're like, you know what, there's no point. You know, and then maybe we don't have 6,000 lawyers being turned out of law school every year.
I mean, you see, I was often quoted as saying this when I was running for president. The problem is not that there are too many lawyers in Nigeria. The problem is that there are too many lawyers doing the same thing. There's no problem. 6,000 lawyers. Do you know how many lawyers are in Brazil? Do you know how many lawyers are in California? There is no, look at your economy. The problem is that you are churning them out, they are wearing wig and gown, and they're going to court. How many disputes can we possibly have? How many? Meanwhile, there are sectors of the economy that are underserved because you don't have lawyers. I always remember the first time I went to a law firm in England and I met a partner who was the head of their water law department. And funny enough, his name was Mr. Turtle. So we had a good laugh about it. But what I found out was that's all Mr. Turtle did. Water law.
And I'm never going to forget Mr. Turtle now.
Yes, I never, till today, I can't remember what he looks like, but I remember that Mr. Turtle, who does water law at this law firm, Herbert Smith, actually, in London. Now, ask Mr. Turtle about no, thank you. It's water law I do. Specialization. So, no, we don't have enough. For this kind of economy, no. But it's just that we have chosen to remain in one area, like crabs in a bucket. You know what I mean? What is it? Then you pull yourself down because we have refused to branch out into so many other areas that are crying for attention from the legal profession. You know, and it will take leadership. It is it's not the young guys who just came out of law school that are going to make those forays. No, they don't have the wherewithal. They just come out of law school. What about you guys that have been here for so long? As your own contribution to the profession, please say that, law firm XYZ, we have decided to go into agriculture law so that you can now help to build that body of law in Nigeria. Because we say we want to do agriculture in Nigeria, we pay lip service to it, we can't feed ourselves. You know what I mean? Even the oil and gas law that we say is our forte, and every Nigerian lawyer will tell you is an oil and gas lawyer. Let us go and find out how many oil and gas lawyers are really in this country for an industry that started in 1958 in this country. 1958. How many oil and gas law is a how do I put it? Is a specialization all by itself. How many are there here? So we really need to pay attention to the issue of quality of legal training as against trying to deter people or trying to create some kind of bottleneck or what's the point? After a while, everybody will just recondition. Dollar is 1,000 words now. It's just a mindset thing. Say, law is we'll do first degree first, and then but we'll still find ourselves at the same bus stop, same problem. So I totally disagree. When that becomes our problem, we recognize it and say, okay, let's try and create this. Let's do. The problem now is the quality that is plummeting. That I, as a partner in a law firm, as you would imagine, I interview new entrants into the profession, and I weep. I weep. It's just, and you can't. I mean, the blame you apportion it, but I think more of the blame lies with our policymakers, with those who are training the lawyers and all of that. I think so.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akpata. Now let's move on to your time as NBA president. Now you shattered a bar when you won the presidency, and this is because you were the first non-silk to do it.
No.
Oh, you were not the first non-silk.
I was just the first non-senior advocate in about 40 years.
For people like us,
so the thing is this. Remember that the bar existed before the rank. Exactly. So there were presidents who were not SAN because there was no such rank
at that time.
And then when the rank was introduced, Alao Akaba Shorun was not SAN.
Okay, what year was this?
He was president in the 80s.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The rank was introduced in 1976.
Okay.
Or thereabout. The first two SANs were Rotimi Williams and Nabo Graham Douglas.
Yes.
76, I believe.
Okay.
And then in 78, Obafemi Awolowo and another set became SANs. But in the 80s, Alao Akabashon was president and he wasn't SAN.
When the rank had already
was already in existence. Quite a number. Dr. Anyamene, quite a number of them.
Okay.
Even the president, who he's called the centenary president. He was president in 1986, I think, when the bar celebrated centenary. He's still alive. He's in his 80s. He lives in Abakaliki. He's not a senior advocate. But NBA had crisis in 1992. And they went into this hiatus for 6 years, and there was no leadership at the just branch chairman, but there was no leadership at the center. And then in 1998, after all the fence mending and all the conflict resolution and all of that, a new president emerged in 1998 in the person of Chief T.J. Okpoko, senior advocate of Nigeria. And so if we take our bearing from 1998 till 2020.
Yes. So you still shattered the bar.
Some kind of way.
But at that time, it was a big campaign point against you. He's not a senior advocate of Nigeria. So again, for us looking in and not, knowing many of the non-civil presidents at the time, for many of us and the younger lawyers, it was a bar.
Because after a while, the senior advocates had come to believe and to think that it was presidency of the bar was the exclusive preserve of senior advocates. In fact, one senior advocate actually mentioned in the course of in the run-up to our election that he actually put it down in writing that this position is for senior advocates.
Under what law?
I'll give you his phone number. You ask him. But yeah, so we were able to buck that trend.
So I mean, so for us, it's sort of like I said, it created like an all-inclusive bar. Now I know that even if I don't make silk, I can try and run, and I can win just because of you. But tell us, how was your experience, as NBA president? You want to tell us like some of the things that you feel when you put under your belt as your achievement as NBA president?
Oh, I think the first thing I achieved was what you just mentioned.
The all-inclusive bar.
For me, it's after that I can go home. I'm happy because what I said to most of our lawyers when I was running, I said, 7 out of 10 lawyers at that time. The question they will ask you is, you talk to them, they say, well, what does the bar do for me? What does the bar do for me? What does the NBA do for me? 7 out of 10, that is 70% of the profession did not feel there was any benefit. Do you remember, you recognize, of course, as a lawyer that you are actually compelled to join the NBA?
Yes.
So people were now beginning to resist. Like, it does nothing for me. Why must I be a member? So for me, it was important to get the buy-in of the lawyers, because you're going nowhere if 70% of your membership
don't see any benefit.
You're going nowhere. So I think we were able to turn that around. I think we were able to get the members of the bar to believe again in the need for the association, see the benefits of being a member of the association, of being members of the association. So for me, that was actually very fulfilling, because you mentioned in the intro that 18,000 people or lawyers participated in the elections that brought me into office.
Yeah, and you had over 9,000 votes.
Yeah. 38,000 participated in the election that brought my successor into office.
Oh, wow.
38,000.
Wow.
20,000 more.
Wow.
So that's an indication of how many more people have become interested in the bar. So for me, if you ask me, apart from the Institute of Continuing Education, which we reignited, restarted, that for me is one of the one of the best things I think I did as president. And with the rekindled, or with that renewed interest.
Mm.
It now allowed me to do more as president because it was obvious that I had my people behind me.
Yes.
I had the membership behind, that was my strategy, because I needed the members to believe again in the association, to identify, so that when the president speaks on behalf of the association, you have the lawyers echoing everywhere what the president has said. Yes, our president said this. This is what the bar is saying on this issue. Not if the president says A, the members are saying, I beg, make we hear what. You know what I mean? If your own are demarketing you, you're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
So for me, I think that I'm grateful to God that we were able to achieve that. The bar found its voice again, one, and then the bar was able to, and because we're the voice of the voiceless, when we found our voice, we speak for the profession and speak for those who look onto us to represent them, to uphold the rule of law and all that. So for me, that's it was a steep learning curve. It was a tough time. It was a tough time. It was Harvard will not teach you what I learned.
Like to be the NBA president.
What I learned. Again, it also demonstrated to me, or at least it confirmed to me what I always knew, that being a lawyer is special. Because being a lawyer is special, being MBA is also special, because there are other professional associations in Nigeria. My father is a doctor. I've always known the NMA, the NSC, the architects, the surveyors. Why is the MBA so different? You know what I mean? So it's almost a divine mandate that we have, as lawyers, which is why we're set apart. And the rest of society has accepted it. They grumble, and they say, waiting, what do you people think you are? But they recognize, which is why I thought it was almost tragic that the MBA had begun to gag itself. At least that's what I found. That the MBA has a voice, but it gagged itself and was no longer speaking up. So when I became president, I said, no, we would have to find our voice again. We would have to, because the people are looking
up to you.
And you know what? I'm at the airport and somebody stops me and says, Mr. President, thank you. I am not a lawyer, but I see what you are doing for us. Mr. President, thank you. I'm not a lawyer. We are behind you. For me, it was very gratifying. It was reward for the for the sleepless nights.
Yeah, because they do say it's a thankless job, but you're getting your thanks.
At least I got it from the masses.
From the non-lawyers, at least.
But that is not to say our members recognize. People are discerning.
Of course.
They know, and they knew that, let me tell you what happened to me at the opening ceremony of the last annual general conference. Okay. And I say this because one of the most humbling moments of my life, when I was introduced as past president, and I received 2 times thunderous ovation from the people. It was affirmation. I was so humbled. Twice. Thunderous ovation from the members of the bar, because discerning. They recognized that we had moved our association, where the lawyers were proud again to identify us because of the MBA, and which is why I encourage my successor to continue in that path. To issues we may have, I mean, I see all the goings on. I just encourage him and his team. Just, bury the hatchet, whatever issues, because what we have is precious. It is.
Thank you very much, Mr. Akpata. And I want to quickly touch on welfare of lawyers. I know that that's another area that you're very passionate about. And your firm, Templars, took the front seat when they set the bar in terms of remuneration structure and welfare of lawyers. But that's just one firm, right? We're still way behind. one of the past business series that we had, Mr. Igodalo was saying that he'd come across lawyers who were earning as little as 20,000 a month, in certain jurisdictions, right? And I'm sure maybe perhaps some even earn less, right? So, but, there still needs to be conversations around remuneration, around welfare. How do you think we can address this problem? And I know that it's not a 1-minute conversation, it's not a light conversation, it's much deeper, but I mean, in like 5 minutes or, let's just hear from you. How do you think what can we do to address this remuneration issue?
But as president by the committee look into the issue of remuneration. My dear friend Anthony Moche, who's a partner at Lawcrest, the Lawcrest was chair of that committee, and they made their recommendations. Then we had another committee chaired by my brother Sheon Abimbola, senior advocate of Nigeria, and another group who now came up with a white paper, as it were. We call them the White Paper Committee. We were very deliberate and intentional about the issue of remuneration. We recognize very quickly legal profession is one country, but it's not one jurisdiction. Yes. So different considerations would apply to each jurisdiction. Yeah. And so I'm very happy with what we were able to achieve. And as you know, right after I left office, all of these efforts culminated in the Attorney General issuing the regulations, the revised regulations on remuneration. That for me was a watershed moment. The journey has begun. We must, still a lot of work to be done, but I'm very happy that we opened up that conversation. It is ongoing. We even talked about the naming and shaming part, right? You want to be senior advocate of Nigeria. How much you pay your lawyers? We even went that far to say we must drag this horse, and we must kick in and screaming and say, listen, we must reconsider how we remunerate our lawyers. Having said that, we also looked at how to expand the code or extend the cost, as it were, because the principal can only pay as much as it makes. It's a function of what it makes. Yes, exactly. So we have a problem in the chicken. Where do you start? So we're also looking at that, and I encourage my successor and his team to continue that we're able to push the regulation, across the finish line. So that is a starting point. But permit me to pivot from where we are, and I will say to you, or I will submit that this will continue to be a problem if we don't deal with the issues you and I talked about a couple of minutes ago. If we don't deal with specialization, diversification in the profession, if we are all practicing in the same area, that would equate to oversupply. We all did basic economics. If there's too much supply, the first thing that is affected is price, right? So you have 6,000 lawyers coming out of the law school, 5,500 are going to Ikeja High Court and the Lagos High Court. Of course, they're going to earn 20,000 naira a month, right? Because if you don't take the 20,000, there's a long queue outside the door of those who want to take 19 or 18. It's even just 10. Or even 10. Or even, can I just have a seat? Let me sit here. It's that bad. So I'm not justifying it, but I'm just simply saying it's reality. We have to be pragmatic. So when you now create new areas, you allow for the development of new areas in law and for the emergence of specialists, right? The price point will be determined, right, by the expertise that the individual brings to the table. Right? So you're not going to go to the tax lawyer and tell him you want to pay him 20,000 because how many tax lawyers can you find? You know what I mean? So it's important that we look at it from that point of view because, we can deal with, we can deal with minimum wage, as it were, but we are still not dealing with the core issue or the problem. You understand? Which is how are we improving, What is the value? Are we adding value? So how are we improving the quality of legal services in Nigeria so that we can afford to price legal services at a certain level? If it is just run of the mill, wear your wig and gown, go and take a motion, and then take your adjournment, you're going to be underpaid. Yeah. You know the expression now. You pay peanuts, get hard. So you are going to be underpaid as long as there's nothing special that you are doing or you're offering. We can try very hard to get minimum wage, as it were, and say below this you can't go. But even that minimum wage is not enough. It's not enough. So I just thought I should segue into that and say it is something that we must keep an eye on if we're going to succeed in this remuneration issue. Yes, at my law firm, we have decided that quality of life is important. We have decided that like I said to you from the beginning, we were not about instant gratification. Exactly. So these are the things that we invested in. What do we pay our lawyers? What does the Templars lawyer earn? You know what I mean? And these days, competition is no longer local, right? So we have you have law firms in England who are calling on Nigerian lawyers to join them. Forget about the fact that you're not qualified. It's okay, just come. You stay in Jersey or you stay in Channel Islands. You just advise us on the Nigerian law, issues. And they're going to pay them in pounds sterling, which is when I checked was 1,500 to the naira, right? Yeah. So that's what we are competing against. So it will be foolish of us, and it will be foolish of any of our peers not to understand that is an existential threat. How good a law firm can you be if the good lawyers leave? You know what I mean? So yes, we like to pay well, and we like the fact that we are applauded for paying well, but it is also in our enlightened self-interest. If indeed we want to remain in the market at that level, at the forefront of legal practice, we will have to pay well. So just it reduces profit, but I think in the long run, I rather be Templars at this level, right, and know that it's an institution that is being built, than to go to the bank with tons of cash and then you don't have your people, because that's your greatest asset. That's your greatest asset. Yeah, it's your greatest asset. And I'm very happy. I'm happy that the reputation is out there and everybody, Templars pay so well. It becomes a problem though, like you can imagine how many phone calls I get, and how many CVs show up on my phone. But yeah, it's a good problem. Thank you. And again, there's so many gems from what you've said. The first for me is seems like we need a total restructuring, of our legal system, total restructuring, and then eventually we will reap the rewards, in remuneration. But having said that, let's keep our eyes on the work that NBA has done so far. Yes. The regulations that have been issued. Yes. It's something to build on. Exactly. And we who are all now very active in the NBA should continue to put pressure on our leaders not to relent and continue to push that conversation. So I think people should take more interest in that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we're going to take a 1-minute break now. We were informed that we needed to take a break. So we'll go off. We'll be online, but maybe just our cameras will be off for a minute, and then we'll be back for the rest of the session.
Thank you, everyone. Welcome back. I still have with me Mr. Olumide Akpata, who has dropped several gems. And while we were on break, I looked at my phone and people are already sending me some of the quotes, which I will share with you. Some of the quotes, they've started quoting it and tweeting it and all that. Yeah, very interesting. Very nice. Yeah. So we will round up very shortly, but I still have a few, I think, important questions to run through with Mr. Akpata. Now, we have a protectionism, approach in Nigeria, both in terms of other professions and coaching in our space. And, expertise. If you don't have it here, it's going to
Family that I'm on the side of protectionism for now.
For now.
Yeah, so call me a protectionist. And when I was president of the bar, I made it clear to all those who were making approaches, and quite a number were reaching out to us. We want to come and do this, want to come and do that in your jurisdiction. And it's unfortunate. We have a lot of catching up to. And if we throw open the gates at this point, I think it will sound the death knell for legal practice in Nigeria. That's my view. That's my view. I may be wrong, but I just think that there's quite a bit. There's a bit of in-house, or how do you call it, housekeeping
that we need to
do. And like all forms of affirmative action, it cannot be open-ended. There must be what they call a sunset clause, right? But what I find in Nigeria is that we get comfortable and we forget the work that we need to do so that we can get rid of this unsustainable approach, because it is unsustainable. In the world that we live in today, the world is a global village. The world is a global village. What it means is that the world is a global village. And what it means is that there will be, movement of goods, services, trade, and whatever. You've signed up to African Continental Free Trade Area, even though with regard to legal services, there's a caveat that, of course, anybody who wants to practice law in Nigeria pursuant to that agreement must, of course, be locally qualified. Yes, exactly. But the time is upon us already where these artificial or these boundaries or barriers will definitely come down. But I suggest that we make hay while the sun shines. We do as much as we can to upskill. Because my major problem is what we've talked about in the course of this interview is you want to open the doors for foreign lawyers from jurisdictions like England and America to come practice here and compete with you here. That's suicidal. And that's
legal suicide.
It's suicidal. And for me, that is that's what I think. And so I keep on saying, it's just like when we were when we were going into secondary school, we had the quota system. 1982, quota system. 2023, we still have the quota system. It is not sustainable. Those kind of aberrant but necessary interventions are there for a reason. Or some people need to catch up from certain parts of the country. So let us give them this, this window within which to catch up. But I was admitted, I got into King's College in 1983. Quota system was going on. If you're from Bendel State, where I was from, you have to score 90-something. Anambra State, and then other states lower. But my problem is that 40 years after, we're still doing the same thing. I mentioned this in relation to this protectionism that we're talking about. What is our end game? Are we saying we will do so much within a certain period of time and then throw the doors or the gates open, which is the natural thing? This is what we're going to have to do.
Eventually.
Or we're going to continue to kick the can down the road. And then eventually the door will be open. And then the all that we have been trying to avoid, or the calamity that will
happen because we've not upskilled.
Because we've not upskilled. You know what I mean? So I'm all for protectionism within a certain time frame. We must up our game. All these things we've talked about, rejigging our system of legal education, ensuring that there is an alignment with regard to legal education policy, and then those who are driving economic policy. So we have an alignment so that there's a perfect handshake between the legal profession and those who are driving our economy. Then we know that we are up to scratch as a profession. But right now, there is no conversation. As far as I'm concerned, I don't even see how that handshake can happen. You know what I mean? And so NMPC will continue looking for lawyers from London and from New York. NMPC, your national, well, it's not NMPCL. They'll continue to look for NLNG. Will continue to look for lawyers because they don't think that we're doing enough to train lawyers that can service them. So I think it's important. So in the meantime, what we need to do, make it necessary that even if you bring foreign lawyers in today, they must be understudied by local lawyers. You know what I mean? Those kind of provisions must be in place. There is the intention to transfer knowledge, to transfer skills, so that if you come to Nigeria and do privatization, next time we're doing privatization, you will not be needed. And then we will now even go into the continent and share with the rest of the continent the skills that we. But my problem is, we've been saying this for years. I am yet to see it in action. I'm yet to see deliberate and intentional steps being taken in this direction. So we talk about the problem. And then we get to the point of analysis paralysis. We do nothing. We do nothing, and that for me is a source of frustration because whether you like it or not, all these barriers that you have put, they'll fall away. They will fall away, and then what would you find? So I'm worried about that.
Yeah, thank you. Because what I do hear you say is you're in favor of protectionism, but we don't have a choice. We're going to get there at a point where we have to open our legal market. So what we need to do between now and then is to make sure that the necessary tools are in place, such that when we do open the legal market, it doesn't kill us lawyers here.
But for being one who has been around for a while, this conversation you and I are having 20 years ago, we're having the conversation. 25 years ago, we're having the conversation. So you get tired about the how do I put it? You get tired with policymakers and those who really all motion, no movement. You know what they say. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, and it's even scarier for me because you did predict that eventually we will open this legal market, whether we like it or not.
And money is on it.
Forced to open the legal market, and unfortunately, we have not upskilled to the level where we can play at that kind of market. Hope the policymakers are listening. But then again, this then is a perfect point for us to go into the next topic that I wanted to raise with you, which is your political ambition. Because, well, you could easily become the policymaker that could help us, marry our legal policies and economic policies together and help us do or put in the regulations in place that will lead us to the kind of growth that we need as a legal market. So anyway, before we get into all that deeply, what drives your political ambition?
Oh, well, 30 years as a lawyer, I have succeeded. God has been kind. I have done well. But how successful can you really be if your environment does not depict or does not show, does not portray success? How can you really say you're successful? So I don't know if you're watching, I don't know if you're observing, but our country is going down the drain. I don't know if you're watching, I don't know if you're observing, but this thing will blow up in our faces if we don't do something about it. And so, as far as Nigeria is concerned, I don't pull punches. I right now, these days, when I talk about Nigeria, I say it exactly as it is. No equivocation. We're in a mess, right? And so, not everybody can step up to the plate, but some of those of us who think we can, we should.
Should, exactly.
Because we look, listen, how many of us can leave? Where are you going to? Right? And, you know, it is scary just watching, you know, when you see, it's like watching a car, right, on the expressway, no brakes. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, the driver is still struggling, but you know that a collision is almost unavoidable because there are no brakes. So I'm really concerned about Nigeria. And so I said to myself, okay, thank you, Lord. I'm really grateful for the heights that I attained, all the levels, all the successes I achieved as a lawyer. But there is a need for us to take one step out of our comfort zone and try to change the narrative. I'm tired of making excuses for Nigeria. I'm tired of making excuses for Nigeria. So I decided to, you know, go for it. It's definitely way outside my comfort zone, right? Politics in Nigeria, but I am resolute that I must be counted amongst those
trying to make a change.
Who stepped up to the plate and said, okay, we can change this, we can fix this. I think our leaders have deceived us into thinking that governance is rocket science. It is not. You just simply do the right things. Get your priorities right. It is not rocket science. You know, and so that's why, and so instead of being an armchair critic, let me go and demonstrate, you know, that we can do it properly.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, leads me to, I mean, you've said Nigeria is in a mess, is in a situation that nobody can deny that they don't know about. Now, of course, we've then, in terms of the economy, we've had a lot of businesses exit Nigeria for many reasons. Exchange rate issues, repatriation of profits, insecurity, you know, you name it. So can you tell us, you know, briefly, what kind of economic policies you wish you would be able to push, or you plan to push as you know, with your political ambitions?
Okay, so I decided to go subnational. I decided to run for to try my hands at running for office in Edo State, my home state.
Yes.
And so if I'm able to get the ticket of my party, the Labour Party, I will be running for governor, right, next year.
Fantastic.
Right? So that's what I'm trying to do. So you look at Edo State, and for me, firstly, when we talk about economic policies, first and foremost, I think it's important that governments, the role of government is to create that over-hackneyed expression, the cliche now, enabling environment, right? But you can't harp on it enough. So the major drivers of any economy, particularly in this part of the world, are the small and medium enterprises, right? So for me, I think government has its work cut out for it to ensure that those at that level who are the ones who are the catalysts, who ensure that the economy keeps on moving, right? You must ensure that there's an enabling environment. So for me, the infrastructure deficit that we have in a state like Edo must be attended to. You must ensure. Thankfully, you can generate power now at state level, right? So any government, you know, any governor would, I believe, would pull all stops to ensure that you are generating power, so that basic infrastructure, so that, you know, the hairdresser, the barber, the vulcanizer, whatever, have function. Then roads. I don't even want to begin to describe to you the state of the roads in my home state. You know what I mean? And if you can't get from point A to point B within the state or within the city, the state capital or within the city, you know, first of all, you know, the economy of the individual is impacted negatively. I grew up in Warri, and when I was younger, or when it was to drive from Warri to Benin would take you 47 minutes. And it was a single lane, a single carriageway. Yep. Now it's supposed to be dual carriage. You can spend anything from 4 to 6 hours. And there are families that are dependent on that driver who does that shuttle. Warri Benin, you can do it 3 times in a day. Families build their budget based on that output. Or remember the lady in Mosoga who is frying gari and is hoping to bring it to urban market in Benin. She can't get past Ologbo.
Exactly.
Right? I don't know if you know all these places.
I have a nice imagination.
Yeah. So Mosoga is just after Sapele.
Okay.
Right? And then Ologbo is just before you get into Benin.
Okay.
You can't get past that point. So it's, for me, I mean, it's the low-hanging fruits. Anybody who takes over any level of government in Nigeria today and just intends to do well, you will score very cheap points because we are, you know, he that is down in fear no fall. We are baseline. It is really, really bad. So what kind of policies? It will be one. You attack the issue of infrastructure and make sure that that enabling environment is created by government. Do what you need to do. Just make sure that you keep the economy going. These people are the bulk of your population. They are the people in the market, the small entrepreneur. They are the bulk. They are we are just 10%.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Those people, you just have to keep them going. You know. So, and then of course, security is a critical issue, and job creation also helps when you now begin to try to create jobs. So, you have to fire up some of the government. In this kind of economy or this kind of jurisdiction, government cannot run away from these things. So moribund industries have to be revived so you can create employment. But the greatest employer of labor is the agricultural sector. And my state, we have so much in terms of agriculture, you know, but I don't know, sitting on this side, I scratch my head and I wonder, why are we not focusing on this thing? Well, you know what I found out? In governance and in Nigeria and democracy in Nigeria today, the people have been taken out of the equation. It's a vicious cycle. Because those who are in power did not get to power through the people. So accountability is zero because they didn't get there through the people. So the people have been removed. Meanwhile, we say democracy is all for blah, blah, blah. Exactly. The people don't count. So that is why the road that they ply is not important. Primary health care is not important. Basic education is not important because they don't factor. And governance is all about politics. You get a first term and then you're focused on the second term. And for me, what will I do different? It has to be about the people. It has to be about the people. If the people are not being properly served, then you're failed totally. Exactly. You're failed totally. So what will we be doing? We will be trying to reignite the economy, right? Level playing field, enabling environment, reignite the economy so that man and that woman, you know, that they employ 2-3 people, mom and pop shop, they just keep it going. Because right now it's grinding to a halt. It's grinding to a halt. So I strongly believe that for me, I'm just going in there to say, let's whatever can be done must be. It's a rescue mission. It's a salvage mission, and I encourage more of our people I have friends who have jumped into the fray, but I think many more need
should be jumping in.
Because right now, I don't know. Well, I don't know what our plan B is because it's not working. So that's why I'm in this.
Thank you. That was I really enjoyed that, because I mean, again, we know that government is for the people, like you said, that statement that we hear, but we don't see it as the people. So I'm very happy that you want to put the people at the forefront, even at different levels. And we've seen you do this at the NBA, so we have no doubt.
Absolutely.
We have no doubt.
When I was the president of the NBA, I'm sorry to digress. No, when I was president of the NBA, after we won the elections, I went to visit branches. So I went to Lafia in Nasarawa State. I went to Owerri. I went around the country, and it became the popular refrain. And they're like, "President, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "I've come to see you guys." And they're like, "No, that we're used to seeing candidates,
wow,
but we are not used to seeing no president has ever come to visit us."
Interesting.
And I said, "No, I'm different because it is about you. I can't sit in Abuja and claim to know what your issues are at the NBA branch in Nasarawa or in Lafia or in KFC. I have to come and find out. To the extent that I have the time, I'm able to move around. It is about you. The association exists. We call it association because you are banding together so that we can do for each other what one cannot do for him or herself. Absolutely. That's the whole point. Absolutely. But then you don't sit down, you become an emperor, and you just, okay, I've arrived at the destination, so there's nothing else to do. Nothing to do. It's tragic. It's tragic, and that's the story of our country. It's tragic. The people don't count. People don't count, and it's a paradox. A very, very, it's a disturbing paradox. It is disturbing. You know what I mean? So, it's disturbing. Thank you, Mr. Akpata. Because we're running out of time, we have gone. That you're a very busy person. How do you unwind? What do you do in your free time? We've seen the dancing videos, so I'd love to dance. I was about to say that, what do I do? I'm a rocket, right? I'm a rocket. I love to party. I love to socialize. I love people, and so I feel bad. Even some of the new dance steps that I haven't had the time to learn them. I feel deprived. Yeah. You know what I mean? When I watch some of the music videos and I'm like, lost in the dance. I'm not. So I love to party. I love relationships. One of my greatest strengths, I think, is my network. And I'm so grateful to God because I don't joke with relationships. So how do I unwind? I go for, once you send me an invitation for any event you're doing, I will come. And people say, "Oh, Olu loves to party." I say, no, I mean, if this person thought it, decided to invite me, I will be there. Because you can write a check for anybody now. But if all of us write checks and there's nobody in that event hall, what's the point? And it is in those moments that people know that you are with them, you support them. So and I love to travel. There's a conspiracy or there's a theory that I must have eaten many chicken legs. They say when you eat chicken legs, you can't stay in one place. Yeah. So I'm just unable to stay in one place. I like to. Mobility is a blessing from God. I just love the fact that I can be in Sydney today in Australia, and then I can be in Kontagora tomorrow. You know what I mean? It gives me a high, I must tell you. So just moving around and so I have classmates all over the world. I think apart from another classmate, I'm the only one who goes to find all our classmates everywhere around the world. I love to travel. I love to travel. I love to. So that's how I unwind. I party a lot. I travel a lot. I read autobiographies. I love to read. I love to read about great people. And my problem with reading is that when I pick up a book, I don't have the discipline to put it down and go and do other things. So I'm just until I finish the book, because autobiographies, they tell you. The other day I was reading Mama Folake Sholanke's.
Thank you for saying, because I was going to ask you which was the last autobiography.
Yeah, I read her book. It was just so. I was so inspired. Mama Sholanke, our first lady senior advocate, and she was like a mother to me.
Okay.
I was just reading her book, and right now I'm trying to read Uncle. I don't know if you know Chief Yemi Ogumbi, former managing director of The Guardian. He wrote his book recently, and I'm still trying to read it. It's just so well written, and so, I love language. I love prose. I love, those who are able to deploy language for maximum effect. They're my heroes. So, yes, I read biographies.
Yes.
I know I read Chief Femi Okunu's book and I couldn't put it down. People like they're my heroes. You know what I mean? And then, of course, they're the ones from on the other side of the pond, from Lee Kuan Yew to and all that. I read all those, but I like those. I like to read. But then again, I also just stay still. I just do nothing. And just in worry, they say when your body phone you, when you know that you need to just chill. I just chill. I don't even I watch cartoon. You watch mindless television.
This is very nice. I'm sure many people are just hearing this for the first time.
Yes, you just watch, just mindless. I don't have to think about it. You're just watching Tom and Jerry just running all over the place or whichever one. And then it helps to
calm you down.
It helps to distress and then rejuvenate. Because you need to do that, because I get to move, I move around a lot. So sometimes I just stay still, just do nothing.
Oh, I see. Very, very, very nice. So, but there's something that you'd mentioned I want to re-mention to the young lawyers. If you invite Mr. Akpata to an event, he's going to show up, he's not going to write. So be very careful.
I'll be both. But I will show up for the party. I must be there. All
right. So, and then again, let's round up and then talk about the future. So I know that you've recently disengaged from Templars to pursue your political ambition. So is it bye to law entirely, or is it bye for now, or see you later?
Well, I'm 51, right? I am 51. I just told you that we're on a rescue mission, we're on a salvage mission. And I don't do half measures. When I became president of the bar, I asked my partners to let me go, and they were kind enough to allow me to take a sabbatical. And for the 2 years, I was doing MBA, and I would just show up at Templars now and again. So, and when you look at Nigeria and how far we have sunk, how low we have sunk, I think it's going to take a lot of time to fix. So, something tells me that I'm done with law. Something tells me I'm done with law. Like I said, I just don't know how to do half and half. If this is a path that the Lord has decided that I tread, that's what I'm going to. That's with full chest. I'm going to. That's what I'm going to do, and I want to stand up. I want to be counted as among those who tried to change, this place, tried to turn the story or change the narrative, as they say. So I suspect that one chapter is closed, but never say never. No absolutes in life. But from where I sit, I'm just looking. I suspect that
chapter.
Yeah,
you've done a lot in that chapter, to be honest.
I mean, even if I didn't leave Templars now, I don't think I would have done more than another 10 years.
Okay.
We have a policy. We have to retire, and we have to make room for those coming behind you. So I would have still left at some point.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The idea wasn't to go to work with walking stick or you know what I mean. You have to call it quits at some point. Yeah. So I just took early retirement. Let's call it that.
Well, early retirement or early career pivots.
So you see, so let's see how it goes. Touch wood.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to say some last words for young lawyers, but before that, we have a few questions. We have a lot of questions, not a few. We can't take everything. but I will, take maybe 2 or 3 as time permits. So the first is from an anonymous source. Now entering the political arena, how would you rate the ability of Nigerians to understand what is required to rescue society from the current trajectory of self-sabotage that the current political attitude is to society?
Okay, so I think I hear the question.
Yeah.
I think people have finally come to the realization that power actually resides with them.
Exactly.
And SARS.
That's true.
Right? For me, and SARS, the presidential election, that's why, tell you what, that is part of what gives me the boldness to make this move. Because the people finally have woken up in Nigeria. But then again, recognize this, as the people have woken up, those who believe that power is their birthright are going to they're re-strategizing, they're going to double down, they're going to ensure that they're going to bear their fangs. So you are going to watch, I predict you're going to find that the space is going to get more turbulent because it will lock horns. The people and those who believe that it is their right to be in power, to grab hold, stay in power. So, but I think people have realized. I think that people they're no longer looking at life through rose-colored glasses. They're under no illusions anymore that they can just leave things to their leaders and then they will do right by them. They recognize that they've been disappointed too many times. I told somebody the other day, NSAS, when they went to burn down the Lagos High Court, they didn't burn down King's College, which is next door. They didn't burn down the Ministry of Works. They burned down the High Court because they recognize that justice is no longer being delivered in those courts. So a guy who steals 2 chickens goes to Kirikiri for 2 years, but the guy who steals billions of naira gets a slap on the wrist. So the people have woken up, and it's for me, it's we should be very careful.
Exactly.
The people have woken up. Exactly. So and with social media and with technology, I think we're in for a totally different ballgame. But like I said, watch out. Those who are in charge are not sleeping either.
Interesting times ahead. So we've got another question. This is from Sholakwe Peters. At the 2017 NBA-SBL conference, you could literally hear a pin drop when you shared your journey with mental health struggles and how you overcame and saw light at the end of the tunnel. With work and life pressures, particularly as lawyers, what advice would you give to anyone facing similar challenges?
Yes, I remember that day, and there's this stigma that comes with mental health and all that. So say, Olu just talk, say the Chris, kind of thing. But, I don't joke with my mental health. Because for me, when I experienced depression, it was a black hole. And it was so difficult to come out, but I had God on my side, and I was able to, just pull through. My doctors had said to me, "Don't dabble into medication. Try and see if you can
by yourself."
So for me, that's my own story. I don't know; it may not work for everybody, but
yes.
And so I've never been back there, and I'm going through. I'm at the happiest I've been in a long time. Because I frankly, like I said, I told you before, one day at a time. I can't come and go and kill myself. And so I advise not just lawyers, I advise everybody, but lawyers, because we are in this pressure cooker environment,
so high paced.
It's just something else. And I really feel people just hold themselves up to such standards that, and just like, they keep us in truth. You know what I mean? If you don't show up tomorrow, somebody else will take your place. And so I am just of the view that we pace ourselves. We check to see that we're not, some of us are not very strong. So know your limits. I considered myself to be
Your strength.
Not everybody has that. So you don't even want to go there. So to Sholakwe, I would say that my advice would be to, firstly, awareness. Because some of our people, we run away from the subject. And so we pretend, you pretend that it doesn't exist and all of that. But so awareness, firstly, that just as you would be protective of, you just don't go to a mosquito-infested area because you don't want malaria. You know what I mean? You also make sure that you protect your mental health by ensuring that you don't move around with toxic people. You avoid those who toxify your environment. You know your limits. You know your limits. Just know the extent to which you can engage, because so that you must be well mentally. You must be well.
Exactly.
Because my experience, what I found out was that everything else, derives from that your state of well-being. You know what I mean? And then so I think awareness, and then just know your limits, and then don't be a hero. Just and if you need help, ask for help. You know what I mean? So, but it's a very important subject, and I had no regrets on that day speaking about it. I speak about it till this day. I spoke about it in Benin, and somebody called me and said, you are running for office. Don't be saying those kind of things. I said,
the only way we can destigmatize it.
I said, that is precisely the problem.
Yeah.
When you're hiding, so let's talk about it. Let's also reach out. There are clear signs. Once you see people just retreating into their cocoons, into their corners, people who typically would reach out, people who you call them and they're not picking up the phone anymore, they're monosyllabic in their responses. Yes, no, I'm okay. Go and look for that person. Go and find out. Reach out. Because we're really going through tough times. And one of the trigger factors we all know is the economy.
Exactly.
When men cannot you begin to doubt your manness. So we must reach out to those who are near and dear, so that we make sure that they're not going through those kind of issues.
Thank you, Mr. Akpata. So let's all watch out for each other, please.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
So we have a question from Dafinone Akpomodiare.
I know him.
I have read that to grow your expertise, one should focus on mastery, in bracket growth, instead of goals, such as the rewards. Please, sir, what is your opinion on this? I think
it's self-evident.
Yeah, spoke about
the answer is in the question.
Yes.
Self-evident. Mastery is the first thing.
Yes. He also asked another question on, in the practice of corporate commercial law, which one pays better rewards, the expert specialist or the expert generalist? I think you've also spoken about it. So, so there's another. I will take this last one. This is from James Igbenam. One of my major takeaways is that you're going to be underpaid so long as there is nothing special you have to offer. I told you some of your quotes are already being, That being said, my question is, what relevant area would you advise a young lawyer who seemingly has no special advantage to major in, bearing in mind the current economic realities in Nigeria? What kind of relevant upskill would you advise your lawyers to major in? Thank you.
It's follow the money.
Exactly.
Follow the money. Look at the economy. Where is the economy going? Remain the generalist, because if you don't, in the country, in Nigeria, if you are not a generalist, you go hungry very quickly.
Yes.
I agree. So remain the generalist, but you must keep an eye on specialization. So follow the economy, because the Americans say you should be able to at the same time, right? You are doing generalist, but check out what's happening. Entertainment industry, okay. Can you go in there? Most of these our artists, they need help. I go to law firms in London. I see, Two-Face just left, Whiskey just left. They're using law firms abroad. What are we doing here? And the young lawyers are better placed, better suited to work with the artists, because the
same
generation, you know what I mean? And can keep late hours. I'm getting so so I think I don't want to say just entertainment industry, because it seems like that's what everybody refers to, but keep an eye on solid minerals. You know what I mean? I mean, keep an eye on the solid mineral sector. You know what I mean? And then medical law. You know what I mean? Medical law. I used to, I don't do medical law, but I was mentoring quite a number of lawyers in that. There's a doctor in every city. The instances of medical negligence is rife and it's all over the country. So look for areas where there's a need for more capacity, and then you grow your skill, your skill, and then so. But like I said, follow the money. That's the only way you can. That's the only answer I can give. You know.
So follow the money. Even me, I'm going to write that down.
Yeah. So just
yeah. So we're completely out of time, but if you have any last words, especially for our young lawyers, they'll be very happy to hear. I know you've said a lot, but if there's any other thing you want to add to it, they'll be happy.
Well, my commitment to young lawyers, right, is something that I don't even need to talk about anymore, because I think I have shown that I am extremely interested in their fate, in their fortunes, in the profession. And all I will say that these are really tough times. I thought the 90s were tough when we were starting out, but
it's a tougher times.
I can't believe what we're going through as a country. I can only imagine the despondency that must be prevalent in the profession and amongst our younger ones. But you can't give up. You can't give. Tough times, they say. Tough people, we have to toughen up, and like I said, instant gratification is a no-no. Just put in the hours now, put in the work now, and it will pay off. But I recognize that these are really, really hard times, and I only want to them, even though I am going into politics and trying to change things in that space. I want the young lawyers of Nigeria to rest assured that I can never leave them, and the issues that concern them. So in and out of the profession, I would always continue to contribute my own quota to ensuring that we create a profession that they can thrive in. And anything I can do, the younger lawyers will own issues, fires everywhere. But I am committed to the young lawyers. And so through the NBA, through the IBA, we're off to Paris this weekend for the IBA conference. We'll continue to work to help our young lawyers, but avoid any sense of entitlement, avoid, what have you done for me lately mentality, and just work, and work, and you'll be recognized for talent. You know what I mean? No free lunches out there.
Free lunch. No free lunch. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Akpata. We've overshot, but I'm not sure we could have done it in any shorter time. Thank you again on behalf of the NBA-SBL, on behalf of the council. I thank you. Some of our council members are in attendance. They've expressed their thanks to me and asked me to pass it on to you. Thank you for all those.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I must say through this medium, my thanks to the leadership of the SBL, the council. I must express my gratitude to Adeoye, my brother who is chair at the moment, and those who are working with him. I am so grateful to you guys, because I am one of those who continues to advocate for passing on the baton to the next generation. And as we say where I come from, I am extremely about the pace, about where SBL is at the moment. I'm proud, extremely proud. You can be sure that I will be here to continue to support the section.
Thank you, Mr. Akpata. Thank you very, very much. And I would also express my endurance and rest and all the people who work behind the scenes to put this together. So thank you everyone for joining. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them, with us, and we can pass them on to Mr. Akpata. Thank you, everyone. Well done. Thank you, sir.